Well, what's up again there, guys? Brian here at 3TR. Welcome to another episode of the People's Questions, where I answer all the questions that you guys have sent me over the past week. We got a good number of questions from mainly all regulars. I don't think we got any newbies this episode, which are okay. But they are very, I'd say, varied, which is a good thing, I would say. So, starting off real simple, the first question coming from RedHood947. You want to know, what are the 5 video game weapons I would want to use? Okay. Keyblade, Yamato, Ebony and Ivory, Blades of Chaos, and does a lightsaber count? Because I know it originally came in movies first, but it's been in a lot of video games, so I think that counts as a video game weapon. Next question comes from Just McCoy. You want to know, hey man, my question is, did I have any problems getting into Final Fantasy X-2? No, not at all. I mean, with Final Fantasy X being my favorite Final Fantasy of all time, the fact that they made the first official sequel had me all pumped up. Now, I openly acknowledge it is certainly not nearly as good as, 10, but it would have a place in my top 10 favorite Final Fantasy games of all time. I mean, I think the soundtrack is incredible. I think that the focus on Yuna I thought was a good idea. Some people call it the Charlie's Angels of Final Fantasy, and I can see why. I mean, I'm glad that that game did not come out now, because I think had it come out now, you'd have like a bunch of people attacking it saying, oh god, it's SJW, it's women taking over Final Fantasy, when really it's just, a couple of girls just wanted to have fun. And I had never a problem with it at the time, and there's certainly a lot of things about it that I think are very, very well handled, especially its soundtrack. I would easily put its soundtrack on par with 10's soundtrack, so combined, the entire 10 franchise has probably my favorite soundtrack of any video game. So, no, I didn't have a hard time getting into it. In fact, every time I play Final Fantasy X and finish it, I immediately jump right into Final Fantasy X-2. Next question comes from Yodadate. You want to know, what am I looking for in Devil May Cry 5? At this point, just a good story. From what I've seen with the gameplay, that's going to be handled very, very well visually. It's going to look very, very impressive. Just give me a competent story that works very well in the current consistency of storylines. If anything, explain where the hell Nero came from, because I'm still having a hard time believing that he would be Virgil's son. Because I'm telling you, Virgil does not like humans, so I can't imagine him conceding with a human. Now, maybe if they explain that maybe they got a hold of Virgil's blood and they somehow manipulated and put it in a woman, and then she was able to give birth to a half-human, half-demon kid, that makes sense, but please explain exactly where Nero came from, because we still don't exactly know. But that's like the one thing I would like for Devil May Cry 5 to at least answer. I mean, at this point, I'll take anything. Next question comes from Cassidy J. Williams. You want to know, since Scorpion is my favorite character and the Mortal Kombat series, which of his fatalities is my favorite? I think my favorite fatality of Scorpion's was in Mortal Kombat 9, where he grabs a sword, he first cuts the guy in half, cuts the head, kicks the torso, and then before the head hits the ground, cuts it in half. I just think that's just a masterful showing of Scorpion's speed and precision, because I mean that's just badass. So yeah, I would say that's probably my favorite fatality of his. Next question comes from Phantom Cities. You want to know, what is my favorite video game soundtrack? Actually, we just talked about this earlier. It would be a mix-up between 10 and 10-2. I think if I could combine those two, it would be the perfect soundtrack, but it would be definitely one of those games without question. Next question comes from Alu Cerna. You want to know, how many hours do I play video games? If I don't have a new game to play, I only tend to play games that I'm streaming, so maybe like an hour or two. Because the rest of the day is really spent on either work or sleeping or working on videos or scripting videos or editing videos. So, but that's definitely something I want to improve on when I have more time. I really want to kind of get that drive of playing games just for the sake of having fun back again. But on a regular day, if I have a new game to play, I could go as far as 5 or 6, 7 hours. It really depends on the game itself. Next question comes from Cassius Buxley, and you want to know, who do I think was in the right? Connor and the Assassins or Shay, Hatham and the Templars? Depends on what game you're talking about. If you're talking about Assassin's Creed Rogue, then obviously I think the Templars are in the right, because I don't think the Assassins need to be in control of that kind of power if it can cause that much damage. But when you go to Assassin's Creed 3 and you get the other point of view, you kind of can see that the Templars just kind of want to establish order by removing free will. I think that's what the whole point was, but it's a little confusing. It varies from game to game, but that's probably done on purpose. But between those two, personally, I found the story to Rogue way more interesting than what we got in 3, so I guess just within the boundaries of your question, I think I would go with the Templars with Shay and Haytham. The next question comes from... Sorry, a bike just went by. Virgil, the son of Spar. You want to know what I wish that the Final Fantasy 15 original concept was implemented in the final version of the game. Not really. I liked what we got, because all I asked was that the game would bring the franchise back on track, since it had been so long since we'd actually had a good Final Fantasy game, and it did that. Now, are there certain errors that the game have? Yes. Have they kind of smoothened them out and fixed them since then? Absolutely, especially with the last like 2 hours of the game. They absolutely added so much content, it actually made it seem better, in my opinion. But yes, I do know about the original concept. I think that would have been an interesting idea, but I still enjoyed what we ended up getting with the final product. I just wish it had been kind of in the state that it is now when it first released. But heck, I guess that's how games are these days. Next question comes from Roy Mustang. You wanted to know... Here's my question. If I could travel in time, where would I go first? Oh, this is an easy one. The first place I would go, I would travel to May 16th, 1983. For one specific reason. I gotta see something incredibly special in person. I don't care how difficult it would be. I'm sneaking in, I'm breaking in somehow to a very, very iconic moment in history. And that's all I'm going to say. If any of you guys can figure out exactly what moment I'm talking about, please let me know in the comments down below, and I will be sure to give you a shout out at the beginning of the next episode of the People's Questions, because it was an incredible moment. Next question comes from the Immortal Super Bean. You want to know, which is my favorite vehicle in a game that I've played? Favorite vehicle? Probably maybe Anakin's pod racer in Star Wars Episode 1 pod racer from the N64. I don't care what any of you people think. I thought the pod racing scene in Episode 1 was awesome. It was something new. I thought it was badass. And it, you know, that's like probably one of the few games in the Nintendo 64 I would love them to do like an HD update and then have a chance to replay it again. Because I still have my copy on the N64 right over there, but I'd love to see it with better graphics. The last question of the episode comes from Dr. Hino419, and you want to know, if I were a villain, which abilities or skills would I take from my favorite 3 villains? Okay, let's see. 1, I would want to be immortal. 2, I'd like the ability to time travel. And 3, I would like the ability to control minds. 1, if I'm immortal, you can't really kill me. 2, if I can time travel, I can really time, if anyone's like, being a nuisance, I can time travel to an earlier part in their timeline, and then just use my ability to control their minds and change time itself. I mean, heck, I can remove my enemies before they ever become my enemies, and then they'll become my serfs. So, yeah, I think those are my 3 powers that I would want. And with that, those are all the questions that you guys have sent me for this particular episode. I'd like to thank all of you guys for making this episode possible. If you guys have any more really great questions you would like me to answer in next week's episode, be sure to type them in the comments down below. But make sure you get them into me before next Wednesday, preferably before noon, before I start recording the next video. And like always, I want to thank you guys for watching, and I will see you next time.